folks, and welcome back to Wilderness Wargaming. Today we're running a little bit behind, but we're going to talk about the Astram Militarum faction focus real briefly. So, without any delay, let's get right into it. As always, please remember to like, subscribe, comment down below, leave a pound Valkyrie for the pooch, even if you don't have anything else you'd like to say. It really helps us out. And click the notifications bell for more great content from Wilderness Wargaming. So let's have a look. Okay, so I'm gonna get out of the habit of just reading the page at you. I know you guys can read, so let's take a look at this. The ever new Tyranid invasion for the Astram Militarum are hard to press that, but they do have the bulwark of some tasty new rules. So part of the thing is that because the Imperium is not like a lot of science fiction scenarios where the good guys are like in Star Wars, where they're this plucky band of rebels that are badly outnumbered, and they're not in the we're outnumbered, but we have superior technology vein, at least not overall. Obviously, the Space Marines kind of fill that role, and the Adeptus Custodes do even more, but the Astram Militarum are much more in the mold of the Soviet Army of, hey, there are a whole lot of us, and our technology is more or less okay. The Tyranids are another horde army. So this kind of a fight would, man, I can't even think how long a game like that would take to play with so many units on the table. So let's see what we've got. There's also the image in the Imperial Guard of constantly losing. They're just constantly taking massive casualties and getting thrown away for very little gain, to the point that it's sometimes kind of a meme. I don't think that the Guard is supposed to be quite like that. The tanks, they are supposed to take horrendous casualties, but that's because the battles are so vast. They don't think their goal is to take as many casualties as possible or just callously throw lives away. And their commanders are not necessarily as inept as they're sometimes portrayed. Obviously, some of them are. I think there's supposed to be a heavy element in the Guard of variance. Some commanders are clearly nobility or poorly trained or arrogant and just not really capable of leading their men very well. But other ones, like if you've ever read the what are those called? The Blue Bloods. Their regiments are considered quite capable. In fact, all the soldiers are supposed to be nobility from those regiments. And their tanks and stuff like that are supposed to have a lot of firepower and be pretty capable. So let's get into this. Okay, so we're keeping the voice of command, and they're apparently going to have an officer keyword here. Highly skilled, much loved, and totally meritocratic officer class. Well, this is something I've seen other creators go. Games Workshop, don't meme your own stuff. Yeah, it can be kind of funny that they aren't. We have reserves and nothing else. But it gets boring after a while when every single battle is just a grinding quest to use the most resources possible to gain as little as possible. It's to the point that it's almost not interesting. I would prefer that the Astram Militarum be a little more like the veteran is portrayed in Darktide, where he's a competent, well-trained soldier. And while, yes, it's a very dangerous battlefield and soldiers get killed a lot, they shouldn't be actively ignoring things like, hey, I'm losing a lot of men that might be better used alive. Okay, each officer's attitude will issue, and each time an officer model issues an order, selecting the orders below. 6 inches of the officer to issue it to. Okay. Move. Add 3 inches to the move characteristic. Okay. Pretty handy. Fixed bayonet. Increase weapon skill by 1. That's probably, that's a key thing for the guard because their weapon skill is not that high. So if you have to fight, then this is going to be a big help. Take aim, ballistic skill by 1. Of course, that's probably even more helpful. Improve the attacks characteristics of rapid fire weapons. This unit by 1, first and second rank fire. Okay, got it. I don't. So this is more of the guard does not fight in ranks like it's the Civil War. They like to sometimes make it sound like that, but it really isn't. Still, it's a very useful and good order. Take cover. Improve the save characteristics of models in this unit by 1. This cannot improve a model save to better than 3 up. The honor increased leadership and objective control of the models in this unit. What models in this unit by 1? So if you have a squad of 10, that would be a plus 10 to your overall objective control. This is, I think, a real sleeper here. See, I wonder if this one stacks with cover. So if they're Well, let's take a look here. I bet you it does. I bet you that take cover stacks with cover. Command squads and castles earning on your infantry, tank commanders directing your armored squadrons, and the Lord Solar better inspiration. Just about everybody has an order for every occasion. By the way, I love the Lord Solar. Is on the white horse model. It's a great model. Almost like to have a guard army just to have him, but I'm not about to do that. A real good friend of mine has an guard army. Unfortunately, I've never been able to play him because we haven't lived close enough together. But he's a very, very enthusiastic guard collector. I think he owns about 20,000 points of guard and pretty much nothing else except for a small number of Space Marines. And I have and sort of, even though I don't play it, I have a little bit of an attachment to the guard because being in the army in real life. Okay, what do we got? 10 models, these go up to 2 shock troopers can have their las gun replaced with a flamer, grenade launcher, melting their plasma gun. Okay. One guy can have a box caster. Any number of troopers, sergeants can have their las pistol replaced with a bolt pistol. That's good. And any number of truckers can have their las pistol and chainsword replaced with drum-fed auto gun and one close combat weapon. It's like a Tommy gun. That's kind of cool. So 2 sergeants and 18 shocks. So you have like a squad leader, an assistant squad leader, and up to 18. So it's either going to be a pretty squad that's pretty normal sized for real life. This makes more sense. This is not maybe the best arrangement. This size you're getting towards the size of a platoon in real life. And in the game terms, I think this kind of unit, these 20 member units, I've experimented with this with Sisters of Battle, and while I think it has play, as I discussed in the Sisters video, I also think really big squads have a big traffic jam problem. You end up having massive bricks of them that you can't get them to where you want them to get to. They can't all shoot at stuff because they can't all see. I've run into this with the Night Lords too, trying to get 10-man Terminator bricks, or with the Salamanders, with the Assault Terminators. It can really get to be a little awkward. In real life, having 2 sergeants would make sense. You'd have like probably a staff sergeant or a regular sergeant, but this is essentially a short platoon. But enough digression about the real life equivalences. What do we got? Okay, everything here is ballistic skill 4+, so that would go to a 3+ with their order. It doesn't look like any of the weapons. I'm not completely familiar with all of these weapons. So the crack grenade is up to strength 9, which is as good as a crack missile, at least in terms of strength. Not sure. I don't remember off the top of my head the AP for that. Damage is D3. The melta-gun is D. Okay, melta-gun hasn't changed much. The plasma gun has not really changed, other than I think it's lost a pip of AP here on the non-supercharged profile. Chainsword. Okay, the chainsword just gives you more attacks. Skill for strength, but it's not actually any better at hitting. Still, I'd take it for sure. And the close combat weapon. So now remember, these are going to be 3-ups if you have the fixed bayonets. So they're actually, is going to be, with the right order, just as effective as Battle Sisters in terms of melee, the regular squads, and even Dominions and Recruiters. Probably not, obviously not as much as this dedicated melee squads. Interstitian shock troops. I wonder what that means if they're, because I don't think we're having sub-factions, so I guess that different regiments, different backgrounds will have different actual units, maybe. I wonder if that's how it's going to work out. The thing is, guard is not, in my local meta, there aren't really any guard. Like I said, my one buddy, he lives a long way away. Haven't been able to play him, so I don't really have experience with guard since way back in 2nd edition when the very first guard codex came out, and it was guard all over the place. Guard here a guard, there a guard, everywhere a guard. Alright, let's see. 10 or 20 models. Can all double up. Okay, so they can all double up. That's true. Orders can affect more troops if you make bigger squads. Okay. The Baneblade. Let's take a look at what the Baneblade. Courtesy of rolling fortress of a mobile piece of cover. Oh my gosh. Each time a ranger takes out, if that model is not fully visible to every model in the attacking unit because of the Baneblade model, the model has the benefit of cover against that attack. And it brackets at 8. Okay. Wow, that's fantastic. Oh, if you've ever seen the movie Fury, Brad Pitt plays a World War II tank commander. you'll see a couple scenes in that movie where they do exactly this with Sherman tanks, which are obviously much smaller than a Baneblade. But there's a great scene where there's a bunch of German soldiers conducting an infantry defense with anti-tank guns in a wood line, and they show the tanks driving forward and the infantry walking directly behind the tanks and using the tank armor as protection against the German guns. Okay, toughness 13. Saves 2 up, wound 24, leadership 7, objective control 8. This thing does not have an invuln save, but with the lower AP overall, a save of 2 up, it means it's still going to be, I think, pretty well protected, and toughness 13 is going to be hard to wound. I just hope that lethal hits is not so prevalent as to make high toughness pointless. Actually, it isn't really that much of a problem as long as you don't have things that are giving you auto 6s to hit or auto 6s to wound out. That goes along with ignoring invuln is a big problem. When you can start stacking those abilities together and skipping over entire gates in the attack sequence, that's when things get out of control. Okay. Ooh, deadly demise d6 plus 2. Okay. So let's look at its weapons. Baneblade Cannon, 3d6 attacks at 72 inches. Ballistic skill 4 up, strength 12, AP minus 2, damage 3. I guess it's probably going to have tank orders as well. And so that could potentially be a 3 up. Coaxial autocannon with the main gun. If anybody doesn't know coaxial, that's what it means, same axis. So real life tanks have a machine gun that lays parallel to the main gun that the gunner operates, in addition to those ones you see up on the top that the commander uses. 48 inches, attacks 2, strength 9, AP minus 1. This is still, this is kind of filling in where plasma used to. It's lower AP, but damage. This is a pretty general purpose gun here. Only 2 attacks, though. So not, this is almost like an anti-Terminator or anti-Custodes weapon. Demolisher cannon, I think that's the one down in the big stubby gun down in the hull. Range is 24 inches. Yeah, Demolisher's always been a very short range, like a low velocity type gun. The BMP-1 in real life had this, a low velocity gun, 73 millimeter low velocity gun that did it. The original Sherman tank also had 75 millimeter, had a medium velocity before it went to the 76 high velocity. D6 plus 3 attacks. That's 9 attacks. This is a blast weapon too, so it's very good. Skill 4, strength 14, AP minus 3, damage D6. This is a very all-purpose gun. Its big limitation is short range. Heavy stubber, rapid fire 3. Okay, so you get significant extra attacks inside 18 inches. This is 36-inch range. 3 attacks. Ballistic skill 4, strength 4, AP 0. So pretty good at clearing out the lower quality infantry there. Although it gets enough shots that it could. This is a good finisher. Like if you're attacking, say, a Terminator squad and you got one down to 1 wound, maybe save this one for last. You might just chip it off. A las cannon, 1 attack, ballistic skill 4, strength 12, AP minus 3, damage D6 plus 1. So supplementary anti-tank gun there. The las cannon always is people tend to think of it. It's kind of like the 88 millimeter, the famous one from World War II. The Germans have. That's kind of the role it fills in every army. It is not an auto tank kill, and a gun like that was not the auto tank kill that people tend to think it was. It was a very good gun, don't get me wrong, but tanks are tanks for a reason. They're different from every other armored vehicle on the battlefield. When you see in real life things like Bradleys or BMPs referred to as tanks, or MRAPs, like wheeled vehicles referred to as tanks, those are not tanks. The closest thing that is to one is like that Striker mobile gun system the Army's getting rid of. It has the automated 105 millimeter in the turret. That's a tank caliber gun, but the Striker is not a tank. And if you put a bunch of Striker mobile gun systems up against an equal number of tanks, unless those are very old, obsolete tanks, you're not going to have a good time with the Strikers. But again, I digress. Twin heavy bolter, twin linked. Okay, sustained hits 1, so that'll be exploding 6s. Ballistic skill attacks 3. Ballistic. Okay, we've seen this one before. Twin linked heavy bolter. Damage remains 2, so this will do real work against like Chaos Marines or regular Marines. Twin heavy flamer. Twin linked, so you're gonna get ignores cover too. This is good. See, this is the kind of thing that would be really handy too for on real life. You want a flamethrower on your tank would really be great for keeping infantry up away from you. especially with slow-moving tank. Well, the Baneblade isn't particularly slow in 40k terms, a 9-inch move. But if you think about it, infantry moves 6, so a tank that only goes 50% faster than a guy on foot is not a fast tank. In real life, like the M1 tank can go over 50 miles an hour, depending on if you have the speed governor in or not. I'm not sure what the speed of Russian tanks is off the top of my head, but tanks are much, much faster than the ones you see in like World War One or even World War Two. And melee armored track, 6 attacks, weapon skill 4, strength 8. No, 8. This isn't, I mean, the AP's low, but this is a lot better than the melee capability of vehicles in 8th and 9th edition. Touching the tank is not the thing that you want it to be. All right, so that, yeah, I'm pretty impressed with the Baneblade. I know my buddy owns one. Would love to play against it, just to see how this thing does. All right. Now the thought of battle cannons firing up and down the lane, Leman Russ. Yeah, the battle cannon is the generic but Leman Russ big tank main gun. Okay. It's supposed to be, I think, pretty similar to the real world one, despite its absurdly large bore. As you think about the diameter of those shells, how few you could actually fit inside the tank. Nevertheless, I like it. The battle cannon is pretty good. Okay. Attacks, range 48, 3, plus skill 4 up, strength 10, AP minus 1. This is going to be a very, very good general purpose weapon. It's got just enough to reasonably threaten most vehicles, even the ones that are toughness is higher than 10, or it's going to be wounding on 5, so you're still getting an average of about 6 attacks. If you're hitting on, I assume there's going to be an order so they can hit on 3s. If you're getting 6 attacks, you're hitting with 4 of those. You're probably going to get 1 or 2. You're probably going to be chipping some wounds off of this thing, even against the very tough vehicles. And I believe Leman Russes come with a las cannon as an option in the hull too, so you can follow that up with your las cannon shot. Pea shooter next to the Shadow Sword super heavy tank. I know the Guard have this really complicated, the first part, the Shadow, like Bane and Baneblade, like there's a Shadow Blade and a Bane Sword, and they're all different. There's like 36 different possible combinations of these names, at least I've read somewhere. Can't remember where. But that's what these names mean. The Shadow Sword is in the Baneblade class, and this one has the Volcano Cannon. So this is 96-inch range, attacks D3 plus 1, ballistic skill 4, strength 24. AP minus 5, damage 12. So this thing outclasses the Tau Railgun, which I'm assuming probably also dropping down to damage 5. And I think we saw that it was going to be strength 20. This is, especially if you're getting able to get this hit to a 3-up or somehow a 2-up. Damage 12, not 2d6, straight up 12. That is a really, that will just straight up blap lots of dreadnoughts, most of them I think. And a lot of other vehicles will just absolutely die to one hit with this thing. Okay. And then with that, also that kind of damage. If there's damage reduction, you're going to have, that's going to struggle. So if you get one of these through and something even has a 5-up shrug, that's still, you're looking at 8 damage on average. As numerous as you miss, there comes a time when noble sacrifice puts a little too high. Yes, there's probably a lot of them. A lot more. Let's not be memes, Games Workshop. Nearly inexhaustible supply of warriors. Any one regiment from your army was just destroyed. You can use this stratagem on that unit, even though it was just destroyed. Add new unit to army, identical to destroyed units. It starts with all of its wounds remaining. Oh wow, that is great. You could just outright bring back a squad, and it doesn't matter. You can't do it with tanks, but you can do it with it's a regiment unit. Wait, maybe you can. Okay, you just can't do it with characters, because I believe. Does the Baneblade have? Well, I don't know about Leman Russ. I would imagine that Leman Russes do, even though the Baneblade doesn't. That's amazing. For infantry squads with big guns, heavy weapon squad, field ordnance batteries, Tempest to science and fast moving rough riders and sentinel teams. So maybe not your tanks, but a lot of your medium units. That's 2 CP, so that is going to be expensive if we have reduced command points, but that is something. I would almost try to hoard my command points just to be able to do this over and over. That is, wow. That's an amazing stratagem. There's so many good things you can do with this. I mean, just having more, that's essentially free extra points in your army. That's wow. Ooh, spicy. All right, Black Library, Day and Abnett, The Victory, Gaunt's Ghost. These are guys who are perpetual. I need to read some of those books. I've not read the Gaunt's Ghost stuff, but I've read so many good stories or so many good reviews of their stories that I really need to read those. And Minka Lest, The Last White Shield. I don't know who she is. She reminds me of the girl from the Space Marine video game from about 10, 12 years ago, the female lieutenant. Although, yeah, she's a Cadian. Those are not Cadians, but they look like Cadians. I think the Cadians are the template for the vast majority of generic guard troopers, which makes sense because they look like futuristic army soldiers. All right, well, that's all I have to say on the guard. These guys look like they are going to be tough. They are not going to be suffering the way they suffered at the beginning of Ninth Edition, which I don't want them to. I feel like the guard is a lot of times ends up being the punching bag army for Warhammer 40,000. Anytime they want to have some horrendous situation, the Imperium is the guard is just getting its butt kicked either through not having its numbers available for some reason, it's running out of men, or just incompetent leadership, or just through Deus Ex Machina, or it's getting killed off by its own side with silly stuff like, oh well, they seem too much of chaos, so we need to get rid of them. That is one of the silliest things. I understand when things are actively corrupted that there's risk you can't take, but when you're just taking them just because they learned about it, you're doing Chaos's job for them. Custodians, Grey Knights, stop doing that. You're fighting for the enemy when you do it. You're being ridiculous. Okay, well, that's everything I have today on the guard, so thanks for watching and listening. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll be back again very soon. We're trying to play a little catch-up on these, and I'm going to get back to the playthrough of Inquisitor Martyr. So thanks for watching. Be safe out there, and I will see you again next time.